good morning, everyone. As you
Good
know,
morning.
so you must know that, with COVID-19 transforming a society in unprecedented ways and a lot of inequalities in society, they often came. And as a measure to stall its spread, our government around the world suspended classroom teaching in schools. So this represents the largest disruption in education, according to UN Policy Briefs 2020. And the term learning loss in education isn't just a term right now, it's a reality for all of us. And we can say it's a phenomena which leads to a specific or general loss of knowledge or skills or reversal of academic progress, usually due to extended gaps or discontinuities in students' education. So today, we are very happy to be here because we recently released our research, which is on the National Level Survey on Learning Loss in School Education during the pandemic. And we have our team who actually worked for this research and helped us to release this research. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. So today we're going to be starting first with our President, Mr. Kulbhushan Sharma. And we would like to ask him several questions. Hello, sir. How are you doing today?
Hello, Nandita ji. Fine.
So, sir, my first question from you is कि NISA क्या है और उसके overall objectives क्या हैं?
हाँ, नंदिता जी, नीसा क्या है ये हम कई बार इस बात को रख चुके हैं। नीसा एक अलायंस है। अगर मैं पहले सिंपल जो पेपर्स पे उसका मतलब क्या है, नीसा एक अलायंस है प्राइवेट स्कूल एसोसिएशंस का, और उस अलायंस में 62 स्टेट एसोसिएशन है, यानी ये 62 स्टेट एसोसिएशंस की फेडरेशन है। तो नीसा उनकी एक फेडरेशन है, लेकिन नीसा का जब गठन किया गया तो वो इसलिए किया गया था कि नीसा के पूरे देश में शिक्षा में राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर बहुत सारी चुनौतियों का हमें सामना करना पड़ रहा था। तो उन चुनौतियों को लेकर हमने इस फेडरेशन का जो है शुभारंभ किया, इसकी स्थापना की। लेकिन इसके ऑब्जेक्टिव्स भी जो हैं, हमने धीरे धीरे उसके ऑब्जेक्टिव्स भी बदले। पहला ऑब्जेक्टिव हमारा ये था कि हमें लगता था कि हमारे पास जो चुनौतियां आ रही हैं उसके लिए एक राष्ट्रीय स्तर का संगठन चाहिए। तो उसको लेकर हमने इस संगठन के ऊपर विचार किया और धीरे धीरे फैलता हुआ ये आज कश्मीर से लेकर कन्याकुमारी तक, अगर मैं ये कहूँ, विश्व का सबसे बड़ा संगठन प्राइवेट स्कूल्स का है, जिसमें लगभग इस समय अगर ऑफिशियली और अनऑफिशियली बात की जाए तो 1 लाख से ज्यादा स्कूल इसके सदस्य बन चुके हैं और इससे जुड़ चुके हैं। ये नीसा है। तो उस समय ऑब्जेक्टिव भी, जैसे मैंने कहा कि भी हमारा ऑब्जेक्टिव ये था कि भी चुनौतियों को लेकर हमने इसकी स्थापना की। लेकिन धीरे धीरे चिंतन मंथन करते हुए हम एक निष्कर्ष तक पहुंचे कि जो शिक्षक है उसका प्राथमिक कर्तव्य क्या है और क्यों शिक्षक को सबसे ज्यादा सम्मानित दर्जा दिया जाता है। क्योंकि शिक्षक एक ऐसा वर्ग है जो ड्यूटीज पे काम करता है, राइट्स पे काम नहीं करता। और उसका सबसे बड़ा कर्तव्य क्या है कि देश के एक भावी जो नागरिक हैं, देश के मासूम बच्चे हैं, उनको एक अच्छा एक्टिव, अलर्ट और इन्फॉर्म्ड सिटीजन बनाना। तो हम ये करते करते में महसूस हुआ कि हमें अपने कर्तव्य पे बहुत ज्यादा जोर देना चाहिए। उसी को लेकर हमने अपना जो है क्वालिटी चैप्टर शुरू किया, अपना क्वालिटी जो है चार्टर बनाया और क्वालिटी पे बहुत मेजर फोकस होकर हमने काम करना शुरू किया। हमें लगा कि हमें अपने ड्यूटीज पे काम करना चाहिए। हम राइट्स से हुए थे, लेकिन महसूस ये हुआ कि ड्यूटीज के अंदर राइट्स ऑटोमेटिकली सम्मिलित है। अगर हम अपनी ड्यूटीज का निर्वाह बहुत ईमानदारी से करेंगे तो राइट्स ऑटोमेटिकली हमें मिलेंगे और पब्लिक का भी जो हमारे साथ एक गठजोड़ और एक ट्रस्ट और एक प्यार है वो बढ़ेगा। और उसी की सबसे बड़ी जरूरत थी जिस पे नीसा ने काम करना शुरू किया। और उसके बाद आज हम जो वेबिनार भी, ये मीटिंग भी करने जा रहे हैं लर्निंग लॉस पे, तो धीरे धीरे जाते हमारे कदम उसकी तरफ भी बढ़े कि देश के बच्चों का कहाँ पर क्या नुकसान हुआ उसको एसेस करना भी और कैसे उसको दूर करना, इन सभी कामों पे हमने काम करना शुरू किया। तो नीसा एक धीरे धीरे एक विचार बन गया, एक एसोसिएशन से एक विचार, और बच्चों को कैसे गुणात्मक शिक्षा प्रोवाइड कराई जा सके और कैसे शिक्षकों को उनके सम्मान को बहाल रखा जा सके, पेरेंट्स और उनके बीच के ट्रस्ट को बहाल रखा जा सके, उसको लेकर ये संगठन जो है विकसित होता चला गया। तो ये नीसा की एक परिभाषा और मैंने सिंपल से जो उसके ऑब्जेक्टिव्स हैं वो आपके सामने रखे।
थैंक यू सो मच सर, आपने काफी अच्छी बात कही कि ड्यूटी के साथ ही हम लोग राइट्स को एड्रेस कर सकते हैं। इट्स अ वेरी गुड थिंग टू एड्रेस। तो सर ऑल्सो हमारी रिपोर्ट में हमने देखा कि क्योंकि बच्चे ऑनलाइन मोड में चले गए थे और क्लासरूम में टीचिंग कुछ हो नहीं पाई, ऑनलाइन मोड में चले गए, उसकी वजह से उनको काफी लर्निंग लॉस हुआ, क्योंकि इट्स डिफिकल्ट टू मेक श्योर कि क्लासेस कब हो रही हैं और कौन क्लास अटेंड कर रहा है, वो हम नहीं इंश्योर कर सकते डेफिनेटली हम रिमोट लर्निंग में। तो सर मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूंगी कि आपको हमारी रिपोर्ट के अकॉर्डिंग हमारी लर्निंग कैसी रही ऑनलाइन मोड में, और आपके हिसाब से ऑनलाइन और ऑफलाइन लर्निंग में क्या डिफरेंस है?
देखिए, जब ये कोविड आया तो जो लर्निंग लॉस की आपने बात कही, मैंने तो कई जगह पर ये कहा कि ये लर्निंग लॉस जो हुआ है ये राष्ट्रीय लॉस है, ये नेशनल लॉस है, एक बहुत बड़ा लॉस हुआ। लेकिन हमने जैसे अभी ड्यूटीज की बात की, तो इस कोविड की त्रासदी में भी, ट्रेजेडी में भी टीचर्स ने पूरे अपने हथियार उठाकर पूरी हिम्मत के साथ अपनी ड्यूटी को जो है पूर्ण किया, और कम से कम लॉस हो सके उसके लिए भरपूर प्रयास किया जितने भी उनके पास संसाधन थे। लेकिन जो महसूस हुआ इसमें कि जो ऑनलाइन स्टडीज पे हमने पूरा काम किया और उस पे करने की कोशिश भी की, और उसके कुछ बेहतर परिणाम भी, बच्चों का जो लर्निंग लॉस कुछ कम हुआ, लेकिन जो निकल कर हमारी रिसर्च में भी आया और हमने बच्चों में भी महसूस किया कि बच्चे जो है 98.6% बच्चों ने कहा कि वो ऑफलाइन ही पढ़ना चाहते हैं। उनको वो कमी महसूस हुई, जैसे पीयर लर्निंग जो है वो बच्चों के साथ मिलना जुलना, क्योंकि बच्चों को सिर्फ एक किताबी ज्ञान, तो हम शुरू से ही कहते आए कि एजुकेशन नहीं, होलिस्टिक एजुकेशन में स्कूल में आना, अनुशासन, बच्चे एक दूसरे से बातचीत करते हैं, सेम एज ग्रुप से बैठते हैं, पीयर लर्निंग होती है, तो वो उस चीज का जो बच्चों ने भी महसूस किया। और हमारी रिपोर्ट में ये निकल कर आया कि उन्होंने कहा कि भी ये 98.6% बच्चों ने ऑफलाइन में जाने में रुचि दिखाई।
हाँ जी, हाँ जी।
तो ये हमारी रिपोर्ट में निकल कर आया कि बच्चों ने ऑफलाइन को ज्यादा प्राथमिकता दी और ऑनलाइन में उन्होंने काम किया, हमने भी काम किया, लेकिन वो लर्निंग लॉस जो हुआ वो रिसर्च में आप सारा उसको डिटेल में मधुसूदन जी और तुलसी जी और प्रसाद राव जी जो हमारे रिसर्च मैन हैं और कुलदीप मैम, पूरी टीम, वो आप इस वेबिनार के माध्यम से सारे व्यूअर्स को बताएंगे।
शर्मा जी नहीं सुन रहे हैं?
We lost.
हाँ जी सर।
शर्मा जी आप म्यूट में है सर। सर म्यूट में है आप।
हाँ नंदिता जी, बीच में थोड़ा कनेक्शन की वजह से। यही चीज जो देखिए ये बहुत जरूरी है कि इसी तरह की प्रॉब्लम जो है बच्चों ने भी फेस की ऑनलाइन में।
हाँ
कि हम घर में बैठे पूरी तैयारी के साथ बैठे हैं, तो ये प्रैक्टिकली सामने जो चीज अभी व्यूअर्स भी इस बात को समझेंगे कि हमारे पास जो है ये रिसर्च में भी निकल के आया कि कनेक्टिविटी की भी प्रॉब्लम बहुत थी, तो वो लर्निंग लॉस को इंक्रीज करने में भी उसका बहुत बड़ा जो है रोल रहा। और अभी आपने देखा कि मैं एक बड़े अच्छे एटमॉस्फेयर में बैठा हुआ था, पूरा वाईफाई लगा के, उसके बावजूद भी जो है बीच में कनेक्शन लॉस हुआ। तो इस तरह की परिस्थितियों का भी सामना किया। तो बच्चे पढ़ना चाहते हैं तो वो स्कूल आने में उन्होंने दोबारा बैक टू स्कूल की रुचि जो है 98.6% बच्चों ने दिखाई।
हाँ जी, थैंक यू सर। ये काफी अच्छा एग्जाम्पल था जो आपने अभी दिया, और ऑब्वियसली बात है कि काफी बच्चों ने फेस भी किया होगा, स्पेशली रूरल एरियाज में जहाँ इंटरनेट नहीं पहुंच पाता है, क्या फोन नहीं होता है, तो काफी दिक्कतें हो जाती हैं। सो वी आर मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन विद डॉक्टर ई प्रसाद राव। हेलो सर।
जी हेलो
Sir, I would like to know that why did we take up this survey and why do you think learning loss is a big concern today?
Thank you and good morning to everyone. Kulbhushan ji and Anand ji, Tulsi, Matu and Nandita. I think NISA as a front-running organization with about 100,000+ schools, I think has all the necessary tools, intelligences to actually to inform the society, the community, the parents, the schools and the government through a well-directed mission. And one of such missions is this research in this survey. So NISA took a big call to know what has been happening in the pandemic, especially in terms of learning among the kids. As Nandita rightly said, this learning loss has been there, whether the pandemic is there or not, it has been there. But there has been a feeling that there has been a severe learning loss among the kids across the country, whether be it government or private school kids, especially in the rural segment. So NISA felt that it's important to actually to go to the field and survey by developing and deploying certain research tools. So then we prepared a questionnaire tool, and then we actually invited the people from across the country to actually understand what the tool is all about, and how we can go to the child, assess the child, and then report that assessment back to us. In this mission, I'm very happy to say that 17 states took part in this national mission. It is normally done by a big NGOs, huge NGOs. Year after year they do. Even NISA is now can be considered as one of the leading organizations which can have an impactful study on anything that concerns schools, teaching, learning dynamics, emotional quotient, psychic issues, etc. So when we did that, and I think it's done in 17 states with 1,502 samples. This has been done on a very, very fair basis. Whatever the analysis that we got through this kind of survey, where we developed both a questionnaire tool as well as diagnostic tools in mother tongue, in English, both reading, writing, and also comprehension, and of course mathematics in grade 3, 5, and 8. Having done this, first when the child was given the questionnaire tool, after that the child was given maybe Punjabi or Konkan or Bengali for the child to read, write, and understand in that mother tongue, also English reading, writing, and understanding, then of course mathematics. So when the results came, it was so, results were so painful that during the pandemic, the results revealed that the learning loss has been very, very high among all children in all the zones, like you can call it south, north, east, west, northeast, number one. And the other type of zone is rural segment, semi-urban segment, and urban segment also. So like with mathematics, recording around 45% of the students are either at 1 grade below or 2 grades below or more. That is a huge concern for every school, for every parent. This is point number one. Even in languages also, there has been a severe learning loss from 30 to 35% of a range in mother tongue as well as English. Especially written skills have actually taken a big impact compared to reading skills. This is point number two. Point number three, so we just have done this survey so that first we wanted to identify what is the issue, where lies the problem, why the children have not been able to come to the class level, what could be the reasons. So we just wanted to analyze the reasons. Once the reasons are analyzed, we also thought that we can take this to the notice of the schools, notice of the department officials of education across the states, to the state governments, and also to the central government and to the NGOs about this NISA research survey project. Having done that, I think what we look forward to do is this analysis is done. Now the way forward is being contemplated. So how can we, overcome this learning gap in every child? What schools can do? What kind of policy framework can be done at school level by the governments and the states and the center and the departments of education, and school as a nucleus, and especially the child as a sub-nucleus. So considering, and as Kulbhushan just said, we just wanted to bring all the children to kind of normalcy level, that to the class level after this survey, through a kind of reprogramming education in respective schools across the country. So this is the purpose.
Thank you so much, sir. And you rightly said that it's very important that we come up with recommendation suggestions to bridge this learning gap, and it's going to take a whole lot of time because it's 2 years, and in 2 years a child can learn a lot of things, forget a lot of things, and learn a lot of things. But in this case, what happened was, due to digital divide, they were not even interested in learning because it becomes very monotonous generally in schools. So thank you, sir. So we're moving on to Mr. Tulsi Prasad. Good morning, sir. So we would like to ask you, what were our methods with the survey report, and why do you think we chose these methods?
Yeah, but the same kind of challenges Kulbhushan ji and Prasad Rao sir talked about. Initially, Andhra Pradesh was the first state which came out with the data.
Yes,
so we found it a little bit challenging meeting people personally and then taking the data. So as the children are already in the positive mode of getting engaged in the online mode, so we were able to collect the data by telephoning them, then having a discussion, then sending the that Google form, etc. We did that quite easily. Now another question is that, so initially we felt that maybe it's not practical to engage them online. Maybe when the teacher, the real teacher, his teacher, when he sits in front of him and when he speaks to them, the real facts will come out, because the teacher will also have an understanding about the child almost. The moment, my father used to say, the moment we see a child, we understand him 50%, and when he starts writing on a paper, we understand him 100% kind of thing. That's the kind of understanding a teacher will have over the teacher or a student. So we were quite successfully able to collect the data and pass on the information. But the same challenge was much bigger, much more tougher in many other states, because we were not able to gather data because people were not offline. People were offline. So some of the states, when they said that it took us lots of time for you, practically you spent lots of time in collecting that data, that kind of data. So these are the kinds of challenges, and at the same time opportunities that came out of this collection of the data from the children.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you rightly said, and I would like to tell everyone here that we did this research when pandemic was not over entirely and schools were closed. So it was very difficult for us to collect samples, and with the help of our association leaders and schools and teachers, we could gather a lot of samples. And whosoever is sitting here, thanks to you all, very much, we got the samples, and maybe more samples sometimes. So yeah, so we're moving on to Dr. Rao again. And sir, I would like to ask you, why do you think that we should talk about the mental health of students and teachers that we talked about with regards to our research? Why do you think that we chose that in our research?
Yeah, we chose that kind of a component in this research because there have been cases that have been reported or unreported in the media, in the other private circuits, that the pandemic has left a huge debilitating impact on the people. Secondly, because the people were confined to their residences, in some cases, the bonding between the parents and the kids was really good, very lovely. At the same time, there were also reports that the children also felt, they felt left out because they were away from their friends, away from the school, community connect. And the children were having huge number of psychological challenges. And that made us actually include this scope into our project, research project. So when we included this component about emotional, psychological issues relating to the kids, what actually has come out is that 24 to 25% of the students at home are experiencing relational challenges with parents, with adults. That is a huge thing, and 25% close to. And students have also expressed, expressed that they do have psychological, emotional challenges and relational challenges. And these things are important because unless and until you fix these things in a school system, in a school setup, and structure them into a kind of a program, I don't think there will be we will be able to really drive the cognitive domain very, very effectively. So onboarding the parents, onboarding the teachers, even teachers also did develop a kind of emotional challenge, a kind of psychological challenge. So when they are affected by these things, what do we expect them to do for the kids? So NISA thought that it's important to identify what is the kind of emotional quotient that has been missing. What are the challenges at the relation level between the students and the adults at home? And then why they were missing the school? What about their social or community connect aspect? So considering this, we have done that. And the report also suggests, the analysis also suggests that there has been a huge psychological impact. There has been huge emotional impact and also relational impact. So to fix these things, and I think even we need to come out with some kind of suggestions to the schools as to how to deal with a child who has developed certain challenges over the last 20 months. So the objective of NISA is to first identify the challenge at the emotional level, at the relational level, at the psychological level. Once identification being done, the next step is to how to actually, suggest the schools to actually face up this kind of a problem and then help the students, help the teachers, even help the parents overcome this kind of a challenge. If this is checked very early, this may really lead the school to actually engineer the kids to study their lessons very well and actually then go back to their class level. So that is one of the reasons why we have taken this.
Thank you so much, sir. And I rightly agree with you that during the pandemic, even we were at home, and what happened to us, we could not go out and could not meet people, could not even see face-to-face people and, have personal conversations. That kind of thing happened to teachers and students, both of them. Thank you, sir. So now we're moving on to Mr. Madhusudan. So, hello, sir. We're going to ask you about the findings with students opting for online classes in our research report. And why do you think that some students did not join the classes? We did have a number where they did not join the class. So we would like to know why did they not join the class? The online class specifically. So it's okay. So we're going to give some time to Madhusudan sir while he fixes the problem. Good morning, ma'am. We're coming on to you now. So, ma'am, we would like to ask you, when I approached you for these samples for Punjab, so you also did a lot of samples from your schools. So, and as a principal, you would know this best, that what students go through, especially when during such crisis. So, I would like to ask you that what were the takeaways from the assessment of mother tongue in our report? And also, I would like to tell you that when we were taking this research, we tried to maintain not just one language, but we just went to all the states and schools, and we just asked them to whatever language they learn in the state, we can be assessing them on the basis of that. So it means we took Hindi, Punjabi, English, Tamil, everything. Yes, ma'am. So you can start.
First of all, greetings to everyone, to all the dignitaries, those who are present here. See, Nandita, I did sampling for Haryana and Punjab, both the states, right? And when we concluded, the overall survey, we were having a different data on the different topics, and we were having a different parameters to decide it, right? And when we're talking about the mother tongue changes in every state. So the common concern we felt, this is the concern that we were observing, that in the rural area and in the semi-urban area and in the urban area, when we are analyzing the data, we were assuming that we were expecting कि जो results हैं वो हमारे urban area में better आएंगे, because वहाँ पे हमारे पास technical concerns नहीं है as compared to the remote areas. But when we were having the result sheet, it was actually shocking.
Yes, ma'am.
Mother tongue का जो हमारे पास barrier आया, जो struggle आया, that was common in all the areas.
Yeah.
If I talk about the grades, the grade 3, the kids were not performed even up to the level. They were struggling in reading and writing both the aspects. They were not able to read even 4 and 5 lines, paragraph or a composition in a mother tongue. Right.
Yes.
And continue to the grade 5, it was again up to not to the level. In writing, even class 5 did well, overall performance, but in reading, even class 5 struggled. And moving upwards, class 8, again kids were below the level in the mother tongue. Class 8 was having a problem while even the reading the poetry, doing the comprehensions, writing the passage. So in mother tongue, we struggle in class grade 5 and 8. Comparatively, grade 5 was only below level 1, but grade 3 and grade 8, we were having a below level 2 also. So I suggest after this is not the report ki hamare paas aa gayi as academicians, and we are just discussing it. I request all the schools, all the principals, even all the academicians to make a bridge gap, bridge learnings. That is very much important for us. To all the schools are having in a different mother tongue, whatever is the mother tongue we are dealing with, we should have a bridge courses to come out with the concerns.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Thank you, ma'am. So this
I will have a small intervention. So
yeah, sure.
There are some other factors, like when collecting the data. So my in-charge teacher came up with all the best students. Then I said, no, this is not the right way.
Yes, sir.
We are not trying to prove anything here. We are trying to present a fact here. So then we made all the school leaders with whom we went into contact. We told them that this should be a genuine survey. So don't worry that we are evaluating your school. It's not about evaluating the school. It's about the learning loss that is happening in general because of the COVID phenomena.
That was the biggest concern, because at the first level, teachers actually took in that aspect कि ये हमारा जो है एक level even we ensured this this is not for this is just to calculate the learning loss.
Yes,
this is the biggest challenge, Nandita. The importance of this research, इसको understand करवाने में we took a lot of time and energy.
Yes, ma'am. I can totally, I can relate with you.
But it should be the right.
So whenever you are sending data from your school to some outside persons, so you always expect that it should be the best.
Yes, sir, of course. No, I mean, this thing comes in our government also. You must see that they do not want that our country or even schools should actually, be seen in a bad light.
Yes.
Actually, a very bad point, because if we do not have bad points, then we cannot work on these points ever.
Yes. Madhu, can you hear us now? Can you speak once? Unmute yourself.
Yes, I can hear it right now. I will join. So I didn't get the question. If any question is asked.
Yeah. Nandita, you can comment.
Can you just pardon, Nandita?
Yes, sir. So now I can go on to Madhusudan, sir. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, you are very much audible.
Yes, so, sir, we just took a question from Kuldeep, ma'am. It was about the takeaways from the assessment of mother tongue. So she was talking about the challenges of that. So now, sir, your question was, sir, what were the findings with students who opted for online classes, and why do you think some students could not join?
Yeah, basically in our survey, in a broader perspective, we can say that the students who are in international schools and particularly located in urban areas where the parents are educated and affordable parents, those students are able to access online classes. And parents' support was also very important in accessing the online classes. And students who are in the rural background and urban slums, those who are very, what do you call, from a very poor, below poverty line kind of thing, all such parents and the students are unable to understand how these online classes are going to help them. And their parents were not able to afford sparing one dedicated phone to the students, a smartphone, because they also lost their employment. So that's also one of the biggest reason. And then there was a network connectivity issues also, in particularly the rural areas and remote areas and the slums where the connectivity, internet bandwidth, and then they cannot afford that also. So that is the major digital divide has happened. And those who are able to afford are able to get the online classes. Those who are not able to afford, they could not get it. So that is a major reason that we found. Anyways, students very evidently in our report shown that more than 98% students were opting physical classes. And most of them still gave their opinion that they are very much interested, or it will be very apt learning from them through project-based learning. They wanted hands-on experience. They wanted interaction between the students and the friends among them and the teacher. So by doing, there are so many students who are kinesthetic learners. By experiencing certain things, they do learn. And the application part is not at all possible, particularly in the online mode of education. So these are the major findings, that there is a digital divide, there is a connectivity issues and affordability, and students were also not, those who are coming from first generation school goers, or parents are not so educated. Such children are really faced a little problem in accessing the digital content or digital device or online classes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And another concern is that yesterday also, in another meeting, this came up about the usage of the data or irrelevant usage of data. See, the child will always be holding the phone, playing a game or something, and how the parent can be sure. And the other day when I'm talking with Mr. Raman Rao of Khammam, he's saying that some of the parents are totally against to giving any kind of access to the phone because they're getting spoiled or they're misusing it, kind of thing. But what happened is, at this point of time, the so-called hybrid learning. Now, recently, I have seen a paper statement where 20 Jain international schools, they have already turned into hybrid schools, like where the children will be attending the school only for the sake of the games or the parents' meetings or something else, maybe only a part of it. Otherwise, the whole learning will happen. Most of the learning will happen in the in-house only, online only. So already they have turned all their 20 schools into that mode. So, and the other day in Hyderabad during the Trustma edX event, we met one of my old students who is coming out with a AR product, augmented reality product. During his presentation, he said that very soon the schools might not be there. The teacher will be online, the management will be online. So there is no point of the physical existence of the school. Suppose if you want to do an experiment, you can do it online without any items, right? You can do all the experiments on the online only. So you can make the teaching happen on online with all these augmented reality and all these things. So it's a little bit what do you say? Disconcerting to hear such thing, but maybe it's going to be a fact in 10 years' time. Maybe if not sooner.
Actually, to take from Tulsi and Madhu forward, the points are very, very pertinent points they've said. And I think in addition to the technology, net issues, and of course, all those Tulsi also said those things apart, I think one of the things that actually may have made the kids away from the classroom, online classes that are happening. They were leaving abruptly in the middle, not in attendance throughout the class. The class not resulting in proper learning, effective learning among the kids. I think is one thing in addition to the technology, to the device availability and all that. And I think is the approach. There was a less scope for asynchronous learning. There was a less scope for asynchronous learning, and though it is synchronous, but even within the synchronous kind of learning,
Please elaborate, sir. Asynchronous again.
Async. There was not much scope was given to the students for asynchronous learning, because outside the online classroom, whatever the kid has to do, go for a reference, go for an experiment, as we were talking about, go for an activity group, go for a kind of WhatsApp calls for group discussions, references, questionnaires, and everything. So that was not done outside the online class. That is one thing.
Yeah.
Now, because ultimately the teacher, most of the teachers they said this 45 minutes, whatever I teach, the kids will have to learn. So there, the children were feeling they were pushovers, and that they had nothing, they had no role to play in that learning. So that was one of the reasons, because they were not very interesting to the kid. Because it was one dimensional. So I think at the both synchronous level, normally in a good school, what happens is kids do a lot of activities asynchronously and come back to the class, online class, and then actually discuss what they have done. So the concept is actually handled in the online classes. So the kids actually are sharing, are explaining, are exploring, are questioning, debating, and all the things will go on. So the mode of operation, the modus operandi of the online class itself, in some cases, I can say in large number of cases, was not very methodical, was not very scientific. That was also one of the reasons.
And
Yes.
one
more observation we found, that hardly 25 to 30% of students only are able to really access the online education because of the digital device. And then particularly, we found that about 40 to 50% of the students did not even attend the online classes as well. So these are also very, very important findings that have come up from the survey report.
Yes, sir.
One more important psychological concern is that, children usually sit together, push them around, play around, run after each other, do lots of other things, right? And they will be learning a lot. They play, they lose, they win. So they develop that what kind of tolerant levels are the necessary skills. They will learn. They will learn from losing also, right? So the temperamentally or something like that. So they have lost it totally in the last 1.5 years. Now, when they come back to the school, we say that wear a mask, wash your hands, don't touch each other, don't play. So there is no more playing in the school. Everybody is concerned that something might happen. But my school, being a hostel, last year or this year, Andhra is the first state to open the schools anywhere in India. But we never had even a single case of concern. No, not even a single case of any untoward happening, because since 1949 we are used to the hostel. So we have a system of we have a sick room, infirmary room, where immediately the child will be separated. He will be put there, and till he recovers, now we will be taking care of. If by the second day we will be calling the home and immediately send him home so that he can be taken better care, right? So with all these concerns, they are literally 24 hours in the school. So we have 10 times more serious problems than what Madhu might be having or someone else is having. Their school is having. But yes, there are no such issues as such.
Yes, sir. Yeah, this is very scary when you said that everything would be becoming online and school will not exist in their physical existence. It's almost like going to Taj Mahal through your laptop, like taking a tour online to your Taj Mahal. You do not
more scary for us.
Exactly, sir. Yes, thank you, everyone. That were great points. So now we're moving on to Pulti sir again. So, sir, I would like to ask you. In our reports, we also did the assessment of English. So what are the takeaways from the assessment of English language? And do you think there's a language divide in India?
Yeah, I pass this
Yeah.
question to Madhu.
Yeah, there are very, I'll take this question, and then there are very interesting observations that we have come across in English language. It is almost similar to the mother tongue, and particularly we could notice that about 50 to 60% of the students are at the same level, at their class level. About 40% of the students, out of the 40% of the students, about 10% are above the class level, 10 to 15%, and then the 25 to 30% of the students are well below the class level. Here we have very clearly demarked in our report that this kind of observation is found in almost all the classes. If it is the international schools and the schools in the urban areas, their English levels are okay. They are at the class level and above the class level. But this below the class level findings are found particularly in the rural areas and urban slums and budget schools particularly. So this is a very, very interesting finding that the students who are in the international schools and the what do you call the elite schools did not find much learning loss in the English. That is the important observation, and much loss is seen in particularly the budget schools and the schools located in rural and slum areas.
Yes, sir, you're right. Because when you go to city, you can see that English is a way of life in cities, whereas in rural areas, it's not. So it's entirely different for them. So it's an alien language for them when they learn it. Thank you so much, sir. So now we're moving on to Kuldeep ma'am. So ma'am, what were the takeaways from the mathematics assessment in our report?
Right. Nandita, if we talk about the mathematics, again, I'll refer grade wise, grade 3, grade 5, and grade 8. That was the parameter of our research survey. In grade 3, the mathematics, the kids struggled. What actually the minimum level we expect from the kids that they need to identify the numbers, they need to identify the shapes. And it was shocking for us that in some schools, in some areas particularly, the kids were not able to identify the shapes even in grade 3. And when we talk about the mathematics, we see that language and the mathematics, two subjects as an academicians, we focus the most. Right. And as when we discussed the grade 5 kids were not able to multiply even the 2-digit numbers.
But Kuldeep,
Yes,
identifying a shape is got nothing to do with the schooling, right?
No, sir. She meant with regards to geometrical shapes, basically.
No, sir. Actually, nothing to do with the schooling. But in a pre-primary and a class 1 and a class 2, we are having a concepts of a type of shapes in a curriculum. So when we had the questions about the shapes and the time, this is the basic concept we do in class 1 and class 2 in the mathematics. The kids were not able to solve even that. That I can understand as a mother, as at a home, we can teach this to kids. But when we don't have educated mothers in the remote areas and the rural areas, so even in the schools, the kids, they have to learn these concepts in the school. And even in class 5, the kids were not able to multiply 2-digit numbers, multiplication, fractions. These were the topics we observed that kids were struggling. And in the semi-urban area, Nandita, if I suggest you algebra and quadrature and even linear equations, these are the basic mathematics concepts. Till class 8, we feel that kids, they know the concepts. And the kids were not able to perform the algebraic equations. They were not able to solve the linear equations. So in mathematics also, I think it will take 1 more year from today onwards, not the backwards. From today onwards, it will take 1 more year to teach, and even kids will take to learn the whole concept in detail. Again, a big challenge for the mathematics teachers also, because mathematics is one accounts, it's not a story. It's not a reader. It's not a chapter that they have not done. That's okay. It's not like if we have not done, we don't know even, we don't remember. In our childhood English में, Hindi में हमने कौन सी story पढ़ी थी? Right. But this is the one subject we need to carry forward whole life. Again, mathematics will be a challenge for the teachers. And I think even the parents, even the board, different board heads, they need to understand the challenge that teachers are facing. That's perfectly that kids have suffered, but it is a responsibility of a school, it is a responsibility of a teacher to take out of the kids from this dilemma, to keep on the this is our responsibility to keep the kids on track. And as an educationist, as a one group, we all are doing this. Everybody is responding, everybody is performing, all the states, all the cities, everyone is responding. But at least seniors, even the ministries, education ministry, even the societies, those who are dealing with these examinations, these things, they need to understand the pressure. The pressure the kids are having, the pressure the teachers are having. So we need to be sensitive towards these learning losses. It should not be theek hai, done ho gaya. No, it's not, because we're dealing with the HR.
Kuldeep, I have a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
Maybe I'm interrupting.
No,
Somebody in edX, I mean, at Trustma event, the last 2 days event, somebody suggested on the dais itself, I think 2022-23 academic year should be declared as a year of bridging or remedial teaching.
Yes.
Something like that. If it's not done, you pause. You pause. You don't talk about the syllabus. Forget the syllabus. You just take the whole year to bring all these levels. They have 2 levels down, 1 level down, three even 3 levels down kind of thing, right? Right now the 8th class child is in 5th class level kind of thing. No? So why don't you do the remedial kind of teaching? Otherwise, what will happen? I mean, as you are saying, everybody will be in a great agony. The country will be losing in the end.
Dr. Tulsi, as you said, it was actually explained by, given by the Deputy Chairman Planning Commission, Government of Telangana, Mr. B. Vinod Kumar only. He was the person who suggested that 22-23 year must be dedicated for repairing that learning loss that happened across the state. That's what he was referring to. That is point number 1. Point number 2, as I think Kuldeep is about to complete, but point number 2 is now this is a sample survey. As we move forward, and I think it's important for each school to go for both questionnaire tool and the diagnostic 100% of the students actually. So you do that school wise, then you get the analysis, then we give them protocols as to how to conduct this, and then how they can actually collect the data and analyze, and then who falls where, and what does she require, where could that facelift program be announced, and what could be the features of the facelift program. If I think those things are given at a school level, recuperation, school level improvement, school level things will definitely start making a huge difference, I believe.
I would like to add one point on this, what Prasad Rao said, Tulsi and Kuldeep madam have told. So this survey has very clearly given an evidence that there is a learning gap in languages and mathematics. So there is a need to bridge this learning loss. So every school, the government, every teacher, all of us together have to join our hands to redesign our teaching process. That we have to identify the level of the students, at what level they are, and then teach at the level is the need of the hour. For example, earlier if a child is in a 5th grade, one who qualifies the 4th grade and he comes to the 5th grade, so in a class of 30 students, all 30 students may be almost at the 5th grade at the same level. Maybe there may be hardly 5% or so, 5 to 10% maybe needing some kind of support. But now the scenario is not like that. Suppose if the students, because they are auto promoted to the next grade without having any proper process of assessment. Okay, so if a class of 30 students, we find, say, about 10 to 15 students at the grade level, and then according to our survey report, it says very clearly that about 40%, 40 to 30% of the students are below the grade level. So these students should be identified whether they are at one grade level lower, or whether they are at 2 grade level lower. This has to be identified and then teach them according to their levels. That is the need of the hour. So this is very clearly evident from the learning loss report. See, even if you take in the languages, they are struggling in reading. So reading, those who are struggling in reading are close to say 60%, and those who are struggling in comprehending the whatever they have read, okay, that is also similarly between 50 to 60% of the students we are finding. And similarly, there is a struggle for the writing as well. So these are to be identified and then properly addressed. That is what the findings from this learning loss report by NISA.
Adding on to Madhu sir, I'll just have add on one point, Nandita.
Yes,
See,
ma'am.
that's a very good point, and that we all need to work on the learning gaps. We all need to have a bridge courses in the schools. If we may have it as a 1 year, that's okay. Even if you're not getting a 1 year, every school, every department is working on these gaps. I think even one more suggestion, we need to add on some life skills. That is very important in a school curriculum, especially for this year, because they are not struggling only with the academics. They are struggling with the, as Tulsi sir beautifully added, emotional challenges हैं, physical challenges हैं, we are having a relationship challenges हैं. Parents are already frustrated. Some of the parents, they have lost the jobs. Some of the parents also struggle financially, and the frustration, finally, even the kids are suffering with the same thing. And they are sensitive that they are not able to handle these situations, right? So that's the one thing I think we need to add on. Life skills also, emotional intelligence also, EQ, IQ को balance करके चलेंगे तो life जो है वो better way में, beautiful way में आगे बढ़ पाएगी. That's from my side.
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Nandita, yeah. Anything else? I have to attend the meeting. Anything
Yes,
else?
sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, you may go. I think your
Thank
part
you.
is done. Yes, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, sir, for being
Thank
here.
you. Thank you all. Thank you, Kuldeep. Thank you, Madhu. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Nandita, do you want me to add something in
Yes, sir.
Telugu also?
Yes, sir. Sure, sure. So in the end, sir, we are coming to the recommendations and suggestions and what are the solutions NISA is offering to the schools whose students have suffered great learning loss. So, sir, you may just tell us in your own language then.
Okay. ఈ కోవిడ్ మహమ్మారి వలన 18 నెలల పాటు స్కూల్స్ మూతపడిపోవడం వలన పిల్లలకి తీవ్రమైనటువంటి అభ్యసన నష్టం జరిగింది. ఈ అభ్యసన నష్టాన్ని అంచనా వేసేందుకు నీసా ఒక ట్రస్మా మరియు అపుస్మా యొక్క దేశంలో ఉన్నటువంటి అన్ని ప్రైవేట్ స్కూల్స్ అసోసియేషన్లతో కలిసి ఒక అధ్యయనాన్ని చేపట్టడం జరిగింది. ఈ అధ్యయనము ఎందుకు చేశామంటే, అసలు మనకి ఎంత నష్టం జరిగింది, పిల్లలు ఏ స్థాయిలో ఉన్నారన్నది మనకు తెలిస్తే దాన్ని దృష్టిలో పెట్టుకొని మనం మన యొక్క బోధన విధానాన్ని మనం మార్చుకునేడానికి అవకాశం ఉంటుంది. ఒకవేళ ఇంటి అసెస్మెంట్ అనేది, ఈ లెర్నింగ్ లాస్ అసెస్మెంట్ అనేది కంపల్సరీ. అంటే ప్రతి పిల్లవాడు ఏ స్థాయిలో ఉన్నాడు అనేటువంటిది గుర్తించి పిల్లల స్థాయిని బట్టి మనము చదువు చెబుతూ వెళ్ళాల్సిన అవసరం ఉంది. కాబట్టి ఈ యొక్క అసెస్మెంట్ అంటే మనకు యొక్క మూల్యాంకనం అనేటువంటిది బోధనలో ఒక భాగమే, అది సపరేట్ కాదు. కాబట్టి దాన్ని మనం అంచనా వేసి మనం ఎక్కడున్నాము, మన పిల్లలు ఎక్కడున్నారు అనేటువంటి దాన్ని గుర్తించి దానికి అనుగుణంగా టీచ్ చేయాలి. ఇందులో చాలా ఆశ్చర్యకరమైనటువంటి విషయాలు ఏం మనకు వచ్చాయంటే, పిల్లలు మాతృభాషలో చదవడానికి, మాతృభాషలో చదివిన అంశాన్ని అవగాహన చేసుకోవడానికి తర్వాత వాటిని రాయడానికి అవగాహన చేసుకున్న తర్వాత చాలా స్ట్రగుల్ అవుతా ఉన్నారు. మన సర్వే రిపోర్ట్ లో ఏం తేలుతుందంటే మాతృభాషలో సమస్యలు ఎక్కువగా అంతర్జాతీయ పాఠశాలలు మరి పట్టణ ప్రాంతాల్లో ఉన్నటువంటి పాఠశాలలో ఉన్న పిల్లలు మాతృభాషలో ఎక్కువ ఇబ్బంది పడుతూ ఉన్నారు. మరి గ్రామీణ ప్రాంతాల్లో స్లమ్లలో బడ్జెట్ స్కూళ్ళలో ఉన్నటువంటి పిల్లలకి ఆంగ్ల భాష అట్లాగే లెక్కలు వీటిల్లో చాలా ఇబ్బంది పడతా ఉన్నారు. ఈ సర్వే ప్రకారంగా మనకు దాదాపు ఒక 30% విద్యార్థులు 30 నుండి 35% వరకు విద్యార్థులు ఒక రెండు స్థాయిల కింద, అంటే వాళ్ళ తరగతి కన్నా కూడా 1-2 స్థాయిల కింద దిగువగా ఉన్నట్టుగా మనకు ఇందులో అర్థమవుతా ఉంది. మరి దాదాపు 50% విద్యార్థులు మరి వాళ్ళ క్లాస్కి తగినటువంటి స్థాయిలోనే ఉన్నారు అనేటువంటిది మనకి ఇందులో తెలుస్తుంది. కాబట్టి దీంట్లో మనం ఉపాధ్యాయులకు కానీ స్కూల్ యాజమాన్యాలకు కానీ ప్రభుత్వానికి కానీ ఈ సర్వే రిపోర్ట్ సూచించేది ఏంటంటే పిల్లలకు బ్రిడ్జ్ క్లాసెస్ నిర్వహించడం అనివార్యం, చాలా అవసరం. ఒక తరగతిలో ఉన్నటువంటి విద్యార్థులు ఒకే స్థాయిలో ఉండడం లేదు. ఒక తరగతిలో 30 మంది పిల్లలు ఉంటే 10 నుండి 15 మంది పిల్లల వరకు ఆ తరగతి స్థాయిలో ఉన్నారు. మరి దాదాపు ఒక 40% విద్యార్థులు ఆ తరగతి కన్నా 1% తక్కువ, లేదా ఒక క్లాస్ తక్కువ, లేదా 2 క్లాసులు తక్కువ స్థాయిలో వాళ్ళు ఉండడం జరుగుతూ ఉంది. కాబట్టి వాటిని గమనించి పిల్లలకు ఒక బేస్ లైన్ టెస్ట్ లాంటిది పెట్టి వాళ్ళు ఏ స్థాయిలో ఉన్నారనేటువంటిది మనం గుర్తించి వాళ్ళకు అవసరమైన పద్ధతిలో వాళ్ళు ఏ స్థాయిలోనో స్థాయికి తగినటువంటి విధంగా వాళ్ళకు మనం టీచ్ చేయాల్సినటువంటి అవసరం ఉందని చెప్పేసి ఈ అధ్యయనం తెలియజేస్తుంది. ఒకవేళ ఈ పద్ధతులు కనుక మనము పాటించకపోతే చాలా మంది పిల్లలు డ్రాప్ అవుట్ అయిపోయే అవకాశం ఉంటుంది, చదువుకు దూరం అయిపోయేటువంటి అవకాశం ఉంటుంది, చాలా వచ్చే తరం చాలా ప్రమాదంలో పడిపోతుంది అనేటువంటి విషయాన్ని మనం గమనించాల్సిన అవసరం ఉంది.
Madhu, I understood 75%. See,
Yes,
this
sir, I also.
is my learning. This is my learning staying with you all.
Thank you.
As a closing, the 5 important points which Madhu sir has explained and what I understood, I'm explaining, I'm just sharing the 5 points. Madhu sir, just make me correct if I'm right with it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Ma'am.
Talk about that the priority, given priority to the language learning.
Yeah.
If we are bridging the courses class-wise, if not possible class-wise, at least a level-wise.
Yes.
And teacher trainings, that should be the important part of it. And offline classes are a challenge, but still we need to continue with it. And interest generating programs and sustainable activity-based remedial classes.
Yes.
Right?
That's fine. And then our books are also not designed to teach the children at the level. They are designed to teach at a grade level. But because if a child passes from one class to another class, it is a 5th class. So the content is designed to teach 5th grade child only. But now we have to design our curriculum to offer these bridge classes. That curriculum should be a graded one, wherein it should come from 2 level lower to 1 level lower to the present level.
Right.
So like that, if it is a graded one, then whatever loss is there, that can be bridged very conveniently.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating, for coming with your great reviews.
Thanks to you.
In the end, I would just like to end on a note where I believe after this research we have done, and after all the suggestions which have come through from our report, I think that, education community, we have a chance for the, education community to leapfrog to a more equal and relevant learning ecosystem. But it's only possible if schools are open and, up to peer-to-peer learning in classrooms with proper planning, like conducting a risk assessment, developing clear protocols, and ensure proper training to teachers and staffs. And moreover, we should continue to assess the effect of remote learning on student competencies and continue to train our teachers for such uncalled global risks. This is very important because we could not see what's coming ahead for us. And through this vision of how education in post-COVID times can emerge and propose a holistic model on effective education in schools, we should start a dialogue about what could be achieved if demand for a strong and inclusive quality of education is taken seriously. So that's the note we would like to end. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Nandita. Thank you so much, Kuldeep, Dr. Kuldeep,
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Prasad Raoji, and also Tulsi Prasad.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.